Hello! It's time for our final video all about reptiles. I've got one more challenge for you. We need to answer our question, am I a reptile? First, let's quickly recap. What is a reptile? Turn and tell your adult. A reptile is cold-blooded, usually scaly, lays eggs and has a backbone. We are going to take a closer look at one reptile and finally find out, am I a reptile? The reptile that we're going to be looking at is my pet leopard gecko, Ernie. Ernie is a leopard gecko, and as I said previously, they come from desert areas. Leopard geckos like to live in very hot climates. That means they like it to be nice and warm and dry. As you can see, Ernie has got lots of interesting patterns on his back, and you can see that he's very bumpy and rough because he's covered in scales, just like the other reptiles that we've learned about. If you were to touch Ernie, would he feel warm or cold? Can you remember what kind of blood reptiles have? If I was to touch Ernie, he would feel cold because he's cold-blooded. To help keep him warm, I have to use a very special light. This is instead of the sun because he can't see the sun in his house. So let's stop and have a think about how we compare to reptiles so far. I've made a small chart to help me. At the top, I've drawn a picture of the gecko and a picture of me. And I've put pictures of the two first things that we have thought about so far. First, we found out that Ernie the gecko has scales. I know he has scales, but when I feel my skin, I feel smooth to the touch because I don't have any scales. So that is something that is different. On my chart, I'm going to put a tick next to my gecko to say he has scales and a cross next to me. Next, I've written hot. Does Ernie feel hot or warm when we touch him? No, he doesn't because he's cold-blooded. But when you touch another person, they'll feel warm because they are warm-blooded. So I'm going to put a cross next to the gecko and a tick next to me. Let's find out some more features and compare them again. Let's look at some physical features now. Ernie has a big fat tail. He also has 4 legs. And I can see that he's got 2 eyes and a mouth. So let's look at our chart again. I've added the tail, the 4 legs, 2 eyes and a mouth. I definitely don't have a tail, so I'm going to put a tick next to gecko and a cross next to me. I'm pretty sure I don't have 4 legs. Let's check. 1 and 2. So I'm going to put a tick for 4 legs next to the gecko and a cross next to me. I definitely have got 2 eyes, 1, 2, and I have a mouth. So that is something that we both have. I looked on the internet and I found out that leopard geckos also lay eggs, just like the other reptiles that we learned about. I can also see that Ernie looks like he's got a strong backbone, just like the other reptiles do. Ernie likes to eat insects. He has something very special that means that he can only see things that move and wriggle, otherwise he doesn't know they're there. His favourite insects to eat are crickets and mealworms. Here he's eating mealworms. They like to wiggle around so he can spot them easily. So let's look at the similarities and differences. We found out that leopard geckos lay eggs. Now I know that people don't lay eggs. We have babies instead. So I know that that means it's a tick for the gecko and it's a cross for me. I've also drawn a little picture of a backbone. And we found out that leopard geckos have backbones and we also have a backbone which you can feel yourself going up and down your back. So that is a tick for both. Finally, we looked at what he ate. Now, Ernie likes to eat insects, which most people wouldn't want to eat. So I'm going to give a tick for geckos to eat insects and a cross for people, although some people do like to eat insects. So let's take a look at our final chart. There are lots of things that are different and just a few things that are the same. Geckos have scales, but people don't. Geckos don't feel hot because they're cold-blooded, while people are warm-blooded, so they do feel hot when you touch them. Geckos have tails, but people don't. Geckos have 4 legs, but people don't. Geckos have eyes and a mouth. That's the same. People have that as well. Geckos lay eggs, which people don't. Geckos have a backbone, which people do. And geckos like to eat insects. Some people do like to eat insects, but most people do not want to eat insects. I wonder if that means that we're a reptile or not. Have a think. Turn and tell your adult. Do you think we're a reptile or are we not a reptile? While there were some similarities, like reptiles having eyes and a mouth and also having a backbone, the most important thing for us to think about are the 4 things that we said make a reptile. That they're cold-blooded, usually scaly, lay eggs, and have a backbone. Now, one of those is the same as us because it says that a reptile has a backbone, and I know that I have a backbone, so it's possible that I could be a reptile. But then, if I look at the 3 other things, I know that I can't be a reptile because I can't lay eggs, I am not cold-blooded, I'm warm-blooded, and I'm definitely not scaly, so I know that I am not a reptile. Something that scientists like biologists always do is double check what they found out. So I need your help to do that. I found out all of this information about a gecko. Can you create your own chart just like this for one of the other reptiles that we've learned about? Maybe you could do a snake or a giant tortoise. Draw a picture of yourself and a picture of the animal and think about all the different features that you noticed on that animal. Do we have any of the same features? Do a tick if it's a yes and a cross if it's a no. Afterwards, think about whether you are a reptile or not. Let me know if I was right. If you're looking for an extra challenge, you could write words instead of drawing pictures to represent the different features. Have fun!